Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of the 60-Second Stoic, the only 60-second podcast that lasts a half hour. Hi everybody, my name is Ryan. I am the writer and creator of the Octod program from theoctod.com, and I am a huge fan of Western philosophy, faith, and psychology. And joining me is the Octod's social media liaison, my wife Melinda. Say hi to everybody.
Hey guys, Melinda here.
All right, we're going to just jump straight into it. So we are fans of Western philosophy. For those of you that don't know who the Octod is or what the Octod is or how it works, it's just a program that was developed using 8 days, 8 different activities based on Western philosophy. This podcast is a little bit different. It's not really focusing so much on that program as it is in just philosophy in general. Some of you have become fans of our meme that we have had on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, the 60 Seconds of Stoicism on there. Thank you guys for your support. We appreciate that. Pretty soon, all of that is going to be uploaded to the octod.com website, so you guys can go there. That's OCTAD, theoctod.com. But today's subject, we are going to talk about giving things away, which might be one of the hardest things that we ever have to worry about. We love things. And I say we, I'm talking about American society. We love things. We love to accumulate. To me, growing up as a collector, and I still collect some things, they represent little bits of trophies. They're like a trophy for a time in my life that was happy, or something that represents a moment that I want to cherish and hold on forever. What happens, though, is eventually the clutter happens, and we start getting a lot of stuff. And you can attest to that. We've had our moments at this house.
Definitely, yeah. The past 7 years.
7 years since the time she met me, folks. That's when the clutter began. So, yes, but there's a lot of clutter, things that we could give away. I think if we were honest and we truly looked back at everything we had and said, what do I have real emotional attachment to? It would be very small. It might be 5-10% of the things that we actually own. But we have such a hard time giving stuff away. Why do you think there is such a drag to just say, okay, I've got to part with this. I'm done.
Honestly, guys, I don't really have a hard time with holding on to things. I was telling my husband not too long ago that just growing up as a child, we moved so often that, it was just kind of like, take what you need and that's it. And so I didn't really have attachment to things. So I guess to this day, I still don't. And the only thing I would say that I have in my garage that I've held on to are the things for my kids. And that's probably it. But
oh, that's good. Yeah. It's a very stoic response, for sure. Unlike me, that has grown up with look, I'm a geek, guys. So my house was always full of Star Wars toys and Legos and Ghostbuster stuff and He-Man and you name it, And I've been able to pare back a lot of that over the years. I'm really trying to follow Stoic philosophy on there. But I want to read a little quote here for you from Marcus Aurelius. He says, "The only wealth which you will keep forever is the wealth you have given away." And I love that. I love the idea of the joy that you have once you've given that on to somebody else. That's everlasting. Keeping it in your hand, your pocket, your wallet, your bank account really brings you no joy. How do you take that quote? What do you think that means? The only wealth which you will ever keep forever is the wealth you have given away.
No, I agree. I think that I'm not sure if I'm answering this correctly, but
no correct answer. Just all opinion.
My mom was the type of person that was always, she was such a giver. And so I kind of inherited that same thing that she did. And that was another reason why I had a hard time holding on to things, was because it brought me joy giving people things, because I knew what it was like to not have things. So when I would see my mom, I saw the joy on the people's faces. And so I did the same thing. And so then it was kind of hard. Like, people would get mad if they gave me something, like, don't give it away, because...
Oh my gosh, that is me. Let me tell you guys something. If I buy something for my wife, she is probably going to give it away within the next week. And sometimes it angers me. She knows that. And I'm trying to not have that attitude, because I got to love the giving factor that you have. But yes, I'll buy something for her, and then I'll see one of our kids wearing it or somebody else. And I'm like, didn't I just get that for you? So... yes, you really don't have an attachment to many things. So, well, that's good. I think a lot of the reason why we do have attachments is a couple things. One, it represents success. It seems like the more we get, the more we can look and say, look, I got to this point. And I've fallen into that trap. If you want one car, you want two cars. And if you have a 2-bedroom house, you want a 4-bedroom house. And if you want these things, and you use them as these success milestones, these success markers, and that is the wrong way of looking at what success is. Success is far more metaphysical than that. It's not something tangible you can hold in your hand. It's looking back and saying, I created positive relationships in my life. I've educated myself. I feel good about who I am and who I represent myself to other people. And that's success, but it's something that we can't hold in our hands, and items are easy. Items easy to hold up. It's like holding up a trophy when you win a game, and you say, look, I did it. And everybody has to look at that. But just being more satisfied with yourself is where true satisfaction is. I want to read another quote from Seneca here. It says, no man can swim to shore and take his baggage with him. So I think that's got a couple meanings. What does that mean to you when you hear that? No man can swim to shore and take his baggage with him.
Well, it's like when they say, when you die, you can't take stuff with you. So, I mean, to me, it's just kind of like, really only just hang on to the things that you absolutely need, because you can't take it with you. You can't when you die, you can't take it with you.
You're looking at a very existential type of way. Like, it's once you're gone, what lies beyond this, you can't take. Right. And that's certainly true. And we're going to look at another quote here soon coming up from one of the Stoics that we'll talk about. But I also think of it as when you're drowning. You're in the water, the heavier the items that you have on you, the more it pushes you down, and you can't swim to shore. You're just treading water till eventually it takes you under. And boy, is that not a representation of society. I don't know why I said boy, like going back to the 1950s. Boy, that is a representation, isn't it, y'all? But it's a representation of society as the way it is right now. And we just tread water from day to day. Tread water, just accumulating more things on our back, letting it push us down under the waves until eventually it just swallows us up. And we go into extenuated circumstances of depression and anxiety and things pushed on us by other people. And we just it's so much. But at the same time, if we're swimming to that shore and we can push off those things, one, the physical things, like all the things that we're trying to accumulate and show our wealth, but also the baggage of past relationships, disagreements between friends and family, arguments, things that have really held us down that constantly pop into our heads. Once we can shed those off, then we're free to swim. We're free to kick our legs. We're free to move our arms to get out of that water. And so I really like that. It's just a simple sentence from Seneca, but man, it's got a lot of weight to it, a lot of meaning.
I agree.
All right, well, let's talk about another quote here. And actually, I'm going to scoot over just a little bit here. I'm going to read something from Solomon that he has. One of the scriptures is from Ecclesiastes 5. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their pay. This too is meaningless. So now taking that and comparing it to what Aurelius said and what Seneca says, the goal of getting as much as you can till you feel satisfied does not exist. There is no end game to that. Yeah. So here is taken from a person that, people feel like is the wisest man that ever lived, and he is telling people, you will never find an end to this pursuit of more. It just doesn't exist. And now let's take that, and then we're going to look at another quote here from Seneca, who said, what difference does it make how much there is laid away in a man's safe or in his barns? How many heads of stock he grazes, or how much capital he puts out as an interest if he is always after what is in another's and counts what he has yet to get and never really considers what he already has? You ask, what is the proper limit to a person's wealth? Here's the answer here, guys. First, having what is essential, and second, having what is enough. Now, context for Seneca. Seneca was in the court of Nero. Seneca was probably outside of Nero, probably the richest man in Rome, or at least one of them, and he was the top advisor to Nero. So some people say it's very hypocritical. Seneca had a lot. Probably actually was participant in some pretty bad stuff with Nero for a while until he got older and kind of looked back and said, whoa, all this I've been doing has been really bad. Seneca came to Stoicism in his 20s, but I think it was really in his older years that he realized, oh yeah, this pursuit of all these things, this want to be in the good graces of an emperor who is just a spoiled brat and rotten, is not good. Only thing you need in life is what's essential and what's enough. And boy, is that not I said, boy, again, my 50s talk. Is that not a completely counterintuitive to what we think in our society? What is essential and what is enough? If we looked in this house of ours and said, what is essential? Give me a percentage, maybe 1%,
Yeah.
2%.
2%. Yeah.
I mean, some essential things. We need to have clothes.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to get arrested.
Food.
We need food. Maybe something to sleep on, even though that's debatable. Because, I mean, go ask Diogenes. You could just sleep right on the street if you need to have that. But, you know, there's essential things. Food, a roof over our heads. In survival, there's the three things that you have to have. There's, you can go, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, but only 3 hours without shelter out in the heat. So I think shelter's another thing to have too. And again, you know, we live in a state that gets so hot. We look out and we see people on the street and we're like, they're surviving with almost nothing. Almost nothing. I mean, Diogenes did that because it was his choice to live out on the streets. But for a lot of people, it's not choice. So here I am unsatisfied with the wealth of things I have in my house. The 99% of things I don't need, I'm not satisfied with. Yet these people can get along with just the very smallest amount. The very smallest amount. So what would you say if somebody came up to you and said, where do I start giving away stuff? What's something that I can start getting rid of to make my life simpler, have less baggage? What would you suggest?
Well, in my experience, things that have been in the garage that you don't even remember is there for the last 7 years.
Yes.
So if it's in a box, it's in a bag, and you haven't pulled it out within the last year or two, I would say that's where to start, because you didn't even know it was there anymore. You haven't used it. So that would be my start, honestly.
And think of it this way. If somebody came and robbed your house tonight, would you miss this stuff? Think about it. Now, if it's a gold watch that some family member left behind, it's an heirloom, yeah, you would miss it. You'd probably notice right away.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but the tons of other junk we've accumulated if somebody took it, and then the officer said, can you give me a list of the stuff that was taken? You'd miss half of it because you didn't remember it. You're not using it. Yeah. So start little. I always suggest that. That's one of the 8 activities for the Octad program that we write about in the book, but start little. I mentioned in the book that I started with the excess keys on my keychain just to get rid of it. I would sit down and I'd have this huge lump on the side of my leg from all these keys that went to locks that don't work anymore, suitcases that I don't have, just excess. And I took it out and I let go of it. And it felt great. It was just a small thing to do. We had a big purge this weekend where we needed to clean the side of our house. Like, there's a little walkway on the side of our house that's just accumulated stuff that we didn't want. We kind of threw it there as storage. I don't know how else to say it. And so we got out there with the kids and we purged this weekend. We took everything up front. You're laughing. It was an undertaking, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think we're all sore from that.
Yes. We also found some things. We found that when you don't pick up stuff for a long time, snakes live underneath there.
Oh, yeah.
So we actually picked up a bag of stuff that we needed to take out and get rid of. And underneath were 2 tiny little snakes. In Arizona, and the section where we live, we have what's called a southwestern snake or blackhead southwest snake. They're virtually harmless. They're usually the size of an earthworm. They're actually kind of cute. They try to intimidate you with their little tongue. If you're a snake lover, you'll love them. If not, then it's still just a snake. Well, I picked up this thing and I moved it, and my wife gasped and said, do you not see that snake that's underneath the bag? And I looked down there and no, it's not a tiny little earthworm snake. It was about 1.5 foot long snake that was under there.
So gross.
Again, not poisonous, but it just goes to show that thing was sitting there for so long that I could have gotten rid of a long time ago, enough to where a snake made it its home. And so we had to relocate it. Guys, the snake is fine. We did not harm it. We picked it up and took it over to the rocks, and it started its new life, hopefully over there. But still, those things kind of, they happen, and we have to kind of just say, okay, what can I get rid of in my life? Now our walkway is clear. It's clean. I feel less stressed about it. It's not one of those things of saying some weekend we're going to have to get to that. It's already done. And I feel freer. I don't know. How do you feel?
Definitely. And freer that the snake is away from my house.
All you care about is the snake. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, but just goes to show we always have things that we have that we can remove from our lives. I want to read you another quote from Epictetus. Epictetus has always been my favorite Stoic. I think from the very beginning. Marcus Aurelius is probably the one that gets the most credit. Seneca is the one that's probably the most like us, I think, as far as the human condition goes, of wanting to have success and wanting to have more and wanting to be in the spotlight, and then also pulling back from it and saying, whoa, this is not great. I don't like this. Epictetus was born a slave, 30 years in slavery, convinced one of his masters to let him start studying Stoicism, studied at the feet of Musonius Rufus, which we'll be talking about very soon in a future podcast, and became a Stoic. And he did not have a lot by purpose. He did not have a lot. He found the tranquility of having a clean life, if I can put it that way. A clean life where you're not cluttered by excess wants. And he said the worthwhile things are the virtuous activities that make up the happy life, not the external means that seem to produce it. And I love that. The worthwhile things are the virtuous activities, being kind, looking out for other people, helping where you can, being slow to anger, being an ear to listen. Those are the things that create a happy life, not the external means of going out and getting the yacht, the mansion, the sports car, the trifecta with those three. I have no desire for a yacht, but that's what people just always throw in there. So a yacht, a mansion, a sports car, a bank account with enough zeros to wow your neighbors. And that is what defines us. That's what defines us. And if we go back to what Solomon says, we'll never be happy. We'll never be happy because there never will be enough for that. So we're going to do a little exercise here. I want you to tell me 3 things that make you happy that cost $0.
Family. Right
okay.
Away.
I would argue that our family costs us a lot of money. But I get the point. Yes. Yes. Family.
So yeah, time spent.
Yeah.
Time spent with family. Studying, reading.
Education. Very good.
And time just pouring into my students. Even if I didn't have to go to work because I need that paycheck, but I would still, even if I didn't have to work, I would still devote time to pour knowledge into the youth and, just giving of my time.
Teaching makes you happy. You use the word there. You said giving. Mm-hmm. Are you giving when you're with your family?
Yeah.
You're giving up time, right? That you could spend on other things.
Yeah.
Are you giving when you are learning education yourself? Is there a way to give when you're reading and you're learning and you're studying? Can you use that to give to other people?
Of course. Anything I'm taking in, it goes right back out.
Perfect. And then you said teaching, which is giving in its very nature.
Yeah,
right?
It is. I guess it's all the same, yeah.
Giving time. Sometimes it's giving your own mental sanity. I can speak that as an educator myself. Yep. So those are things that all require us to give something away and not to acquire something. Mm-hmm. Those are things that make you happy. I will kind of take a more, practical approach with it. The things that make me happy are coming home to someone who hugs me and loves me all the time, watching my cat sleep peacefully by the window. That makes me happy. She curls up, she breathes. She has worst snoring problem I've ever heard for any kind of animal, but she breathes she's just very content with life. That makes me happy. when I see that. Sometimes I will just look over and watch her, and it's such a silly thing. But it's taking that time to observe and say, that thing right there makes me happy. You know what else makes me happy? My kids are good singers, but when they do karaoke, they are horrible singers. They're some of the worst I've ever heard. But it makes me happy because they're out there having a good time. And none of those things cost $1. None of those things cost me anything. But if I don't take the time, which maybe that's the cost itself, the time. If I don't take the time to sit back and look at those things and enjoy them, I lose them. I lose out on them. They're time that's unrealized. It's time that's unutilized. It's time that's taken for granted. And that's what the Stoics are trying to say. We have to change our paradigm of what success is in this life. It is not the accumulation of things. It is the giving away things. And that's what Marcus Aurelius said. That is the true happiness. But people say, I don't have a lot to give away. I don't have a lot of worth to give away. Well, I can tell you what you can give away. Can you live 50 pounds? Because if you can go to your local food bank and give your time. It's something that's precious to you, but you can give your time and you can help somebody that's in need. Well, I don't have time to go to the food bank. Okay, do you have time to roll your neighbor's garbage can to the street for them? Especially if your neighbor's elderly. That's giving up your time. It's giving up some of your effort to go out and do it. It's giving up something that you'd rather be doing to go do that. It's kindness. And people see that and they say, I want to be like that. So I don't know. I have to do a lot of self-reflection on that. I have to sit back and say, okay, what am I really giving away here? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Time. What are your thoughts on giving time to others? Is there a limit? Like, should we set a limit for ourselves? Is there I'm going to dedicate 30 minutes a week to giving to others? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think it just depends on the person. There's some of us who are retired, some of us who are not. And so I think it just depends on that person and their situation. If you're a retired person and you know, like my mom, she doesn't know what retired means, and she's constantly still, you know, finding ways to give of her time and just be there for other people. And then you have people who are working. Yeah, you might have to set aside some time to just be there to fellowship with your brothers in Christ, your family, school if you're still doing school like us. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it just depends on the person, their situation.
No, it's good. And your mom is a really good example of that. She gives a lot of her time. There has never been a person that has set off a Ring camera more in the existence of this world than my mother-in-law. She is in and out of that door every 30 seconds because she's got stuff to do. She just told me that she donated some of my clothes to a person in need. Well, to come to find out, they were clothes that I didn't want donated. But that's okay because I can give away, right? I can sacrifice my own things. And I think it's an amazing thing that she tried to help somebody. I'm not going to miss them. It's going to help a person that was in need. It's really great. Next time she'll probably ask me, but I think it was a wonderful thing for her to do. She's constantly taking out people who are elderly for lunch. She's visiting people in the hospital, like utilizing her time. She's not kicking back in an easy chair saying, I'm retired now. This is it.
She took some of our leftovers to some homeless people. The kids were just not going to eat. And she was like, before this goes bad, she literally heated it up, put it in containers, and she went and passed it out to the homeless people at the park.
Like, that was food. Think about it, what she just said. That's food that would have gone to waste. We would have thrown that away. Yep. And yet she found a way to enrich somebody's life by giving it away and making sure they were okay. And if it's what I think it was pretty good. So I'm glad that she did that. It was very good. I want to bring in another quote here for us to consider. We're wrapping up the podcast soon here, but this is from Solomon. He says, the sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much. But as for the rich, their excess permits them no sleep. There is another thing for us to consider right there. What we physically sacrifice to get more. So for Solomon, he's saying, You're giving up your rest. You're giving up your happiness. You're giving up your recuperation because you have to be out there getting more. There is no sleep for you. If you build a giant company, there is another giant company waiting to consume you, and another giant company waiting to consume that one. So there's no rest. Now, can we not have wealth? Well, Seneca says no. I mean, you can have wealth. It's just the means that you go through to get it. As long as you're not stomping on someone's head to make yourself wealthier, you can enjoy wealth. Another one from Solomon, we're going to read here. Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, accept their lot and be happy in their toil. This is a gift of God. They seldom reflect on the days of their life because God keeps them occupied with the gladness of heart. Solomon's not saying throw everything away that get rid of it all, go live in a cardboard box, go just throw yourself out there on the mercy of the world and say, this is it. He's saying prioritize. Prioritize. If you've been blessed with a lot, give a lot. If you've been blessed with a little, be content with a little, but prioritize. And this is the lesson that really sticks out for me here. How do you view your life? How do you view your life? Because if all you care about is that next gold trophy that you can hold up, it will soon end up thrown somewhere in your garage and you'll never think about it again. But the moments that you gave, like Marcus Aurelius says, the moments that you gave, the kindness that you've shown, the memories that you have from doing great things for others, you hang on to them for a lifetime. So it motivates you. It's what drives you. And that's a beautiful thing. Any comments to wrap up the show today? Our first episode of 60 Seconds of Stoicism?
No, I mean, there's always enough. There's always, a place to grow, even, than where we are now.
Yeah.
There's more that I could give. There's still more things that I could do for other people. There's room for growth, honestly. I would never say I'm in a perfect state. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you have to be intentional. Don't wait for those opportunities to come to you. You find those opportunities to give. Aurelius was very good at that. We'll go into more in future episodes on that, but he gave. He not only gave of himself to everybody and to his family, but he gave of the goods of Rome when they were in need, and he had to get rid of those. He had to sell them. So he was always looking to give. So we have to make that intentional. Thank you guys for listening to the first episode of 60 Seconds of Stoicism, the only 60-second podcast that lasts a half hour. Make sure that you check out our memes. Those are all over the place. They're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're on Facebook. It's just a little quote to help us through our day. Go to theoctod.com, pick up our book, The Octod. It is an 8-day challenge, an 8-day program using Western philosophy to improve your life in 8 different ways using 8 different activities. The people that have gone on it have given me all kinds of fun reports on how challenging it was and how difficult it was, but most importantly, how much it helped them. So we want you guys to go check that out. You can go to Amazon. It's The Octod, OCTAD, or go to theoctod.com to find out more information. Thank you all. Thank you for listening to the first episode, and we will talk to you guys next week. Remember, an intelligent mind produces intelligent health. Thank you.